close the door behind you. You're now in the green room.
Yo, everybody, welcome to the Green Room. I'm Keddy Manuel, a bassist and guitarist. Today we're talking to Ronald "Boo" Hinkson, an amazing guitarist whose musical career is decorated far beyond what I could mention in this intro. His information can be found in the description wherever you're listening to this. I had fun talking to him, and I know you'll enjoy the conversation that we had today. Remember, the Green Room is open to all Caribbean instrumentalists, even those who don't live in the Caribbean. So, if you're interested in talking to us, shoot us an email at lucianmusicians@gmail.com. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's get into music. Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Green Room. I'm joined today by a pioneer in the Caribbean music industry, Mr. Ronald "Boo" Hinkson. Mr. Hinkson, can you just tell the people hello?
How you doing? How you doing, man? This is not Mr. Hinkson. This is Boo. Mr. Hinkson is my government name.
All right. So I'll call you Boo from now on. Noted.
Yeah, the whole Ronald Hinkson is a government name, man. You know.
Okay.
That has a certain history that Let's move on.
Okay, we'll move on. Yeah, so we're definitely excited and happy to have you in the Green Room with us today. For me, it's kind of surreal because growing up, the name Ronald "Boo" Hinkson for me was synonymous with the very best of the best when it comes to musicianship.
Well, that's for the compliment.
Yes, sir. So for me to be in the Green Room with you today, I'm gonna enjoy this conversation. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I'm looking forward to hearing some of the details behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So to start us right out the gate, can you tell us a little bit about how did you become Ronald "Boo" Hinkson, or just Boo, as you like to say?
Well, here's what, man. First of all, I grew up in Castries. I was born in Saint Lucian, obviously. I grew up in Castries. And you're talking about the name Boo. When I was a kid, when I started to speak, the first thing I started to say was Boo for some reason. And my dad started to call me Boo as a nickname. And when I became a musician, I wanted to get rid of that name, man, because I didn't think it was appropriate.
Right.
And what happened is that name began to get into the newspapers and the television and it kind of stuck, man. I tried desperately to get rid of it. So it just became like a pet name, man, like a term of endearment. And now people talk about my guy is my Boo, That's my Boo. So it turned out pretty good after all, man, but I don't mind it. It's all right, man. It's all right. It's a good marketing name. Ronald "Boo" Hinkson has a good name to it. RBH. Some people, when I walk through the streets, some people just shout me RBH, So it's cool, man. But that's how it came about because as a kid, when I started to talk, I started to say Boo was the first thing I said. And my dad just called me Boo as a nickname and it stuck,
Yeah, often I think. No, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was telling you that my dad, I imagine, I know one of the things you asked me when we spoke on the phone was that to tell you how I started and so on,
Mm-hmm.
My mother played the guitar, see, and my dad played the clarinet. So I had music on both sides of my family. So I didn't find music. Music found me, so to speak. And it was almost inevitable that I became a musician. I've been obsessed with it from childhood. So it's all I've done most of my life, man, from school.
Okay. Do you think, was there a sort of defining moment where you said, you know what, this is what I want to do? Because I find that it's one thing to play and have music in your life, but was there a defining moment where you said, you know what, this is what I want to pursue with all my energies?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think that happened while I was at St. Mary's College. You know, I had some friends. My brother played guitar before me, right? My elder brother, Winston Hinkson, and my brothers, I think even played a bit of guitar too. But my real influence from very young was my mother, who played guitar in the house, you know. And what happened was that we had a friend called Leo Centros who went to England and sent my brother a guitar. So that was the guitar that I used to really fool around with, man. My brother would come, but put my guitar down, boy. Every time he left the house, I'd go pick it up and learn some stuff, man, you know. And he eventually realized, listen, this guy really likes this thing, man. He can play. And so that was my that was not my defining moment yet, but that's the point where I knew I could do this.
Okay.
Then my mother noticed, and she started to teach me further. But I had a friend called Michael Alexander, whose father was the Chief Justice of Nigeria. And Michael and I were very close. And Michael had a guitar, I had a guitar. We started to learn a few songs. You know? And what happened was that I brought my brothers on. One of my brothers played the conga, and the other one played some percussion, you know.
Yeah.
And I had a friend called Cyril Mitchell, who's passed. We used to call him Slade. And we had a friend, Mick Slade, S-L-A-D-E.
Okay.
And a friend of mine, we had a friend of ours, Dudley Dublin, make him a bass because we couldn't afford to buy a bass. So we made a bass. We made our own bass in Saint Lucian, man, you know.
What was that bass like?
Well, it was, we tried to copy a Fender Precision,
Okay.
which was an American-made bass, right?
Yeah,
So we ordered a pickup, and he made it, and we got the piece of brass and put the frets, everything, and we made it. And that's how we afforded our first bass.
All right.
And so I had a guitar, Michael had a guitar, and Slade had a bass that we made. And we got a guy to make a drum for us, like a conga. And we got a goat skin out of the countryside. And we started to practice some songs. And then Carlos Mins, who was the bandmaster of the Royal Saint Lucia Police Band,
Yeah.
he had his own band, and they had to play at Gaiety. And there was a cinema there, but there was a hall where people danced and so on. And he wanted us to hold on for him because the police band had a performance. So his band couldn't start on time. So he asked us to come hold on to him, but we only had about maybe 6 songs. we knew. So we said, no, we can't do that. He said, no, you guys can go. We were little boys, man. I was a kid. And he said, yeah, you could.
When you say a kid, like about what age range?
I was at school, man. I just gone to St. Mary's College.
Okay, so like Form 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he said to me, man, you can't do that. I said, but we have no name. He said, just call yourself the True Tones. Just call yourself the True Tones and come. Just play a few songs for us for about an hour, and we'll be there right after. So we went, and we had about 6 songs, and we just played them and rotated the order until he came. And then I realized that people were in awe, you know, because I was a young boy at the time. And you know, people like to see young people do things, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And at that point, I think that was a defining moment for me where I decided, listen, I can do this. You know? I'm sure I can do this. And so that continued for a while, and we just got better and better at it. We just kept practicing, man. But Michael, who played the other guitar, was my teacher at school because he was a bright guy, very bright guy. So he did his O-levels very young, and he was teaching at St. Mary's College, and he used to teach me. So if I gave trouble in the form, he pulled me up. When he came in the band, I pulled him up, man, you know.
Yeah,
just straighten him out if he played something I didn't like, you know. So we had a kind of banter, that friendly thing. But that was really the defining moment for me, where I knew, listen, I can do this, man. And from then, I just never turned back, you know. And we expanded the band. I brought in my brothers and my cousins, and then I brought in percussionists, and I got in a singer, and we just grew and grew and grew and grew. And then we became a household name in Saint Lucia. We became an institution. So we would perform, we'd go out to Vivo to perform, right? And at that time, we had to take like a, what we call a truck
Yeah.
with benches in it. Them old buses with benches. And that bus would stop along the way to pick up people, to bring them to Castries. Some people go to the market to sell the ground, and we in that bus, coming from playing in Beaufort.
Yeah.
And I have to go to school at 8 o'clock. And I get up to Castries at 6 o'clock. And I had to go to school at St. Mary's College to learn Latin, amo, amas, amat, amamus, amatis, amat, amabo, amabis, amabit, amabimus, amabit, amabunt. I was learning Latin. And oh gosh. And you know what, at the time, if you had to do medicine, all the prescriptions were written in Latin, so everybody had to do Latin. And I kept saying to myself, but why am I learning this and I want to be a musician, man? You know? And there must be a way that this country can fast track me into what I want to do.
Right.
Because all of this Latin and trigonometry I'm doing there, that's not what I want to do. Why am I learning all of this stuff there, man? You know? And so I decided, listen, man, I quietly decided I will learn enough of everything I want at St. Mary's College not to be a stupid guy. You understand what I'm saying? I worked this out. Yeah. I worked this out really well. I'm telling you, man. This is what the education system should have been.
Yeah.
I decided, listen, I want to know enough math and enough English and enough chemistry and a little bit of physics. And I just want to know enough for me to not to be a stupid, dumb guy. Yeah. I don't want to be a stupid, dumb musician.
And I just want to hop in and point out to the listeners that there is a little bit of a paradox there, because just by going to St. Mary's College, because of the way the common entrance exams work, it kind of already proves that you're not a stupid person, right? Because you need to actually pass to get there.
Yeah, but I can't say that I'm a fellow who applied myself like I should have, because evidently everybody knows I'm not a dumb guy, but it's just that I want to be a musician. What am I doing here in a lab studying a set of physics, trigonometry, you know?
So that really leads me to a specific question here, because
go ahead. My mother kept saying to me, man, listen, you have to have something to fall back on. And
there you go.
I understand that, but I know I can. This is what I want to do. I know I can do this, you know, and I'm going to apply myself. And I'm going to be disciplined about it too. And so people would say to my mom, we started to do little gigs, you know. At the time, I mean, we'd do a whole gig for a whole band for hours for $40, you know, for the whole band. People would say to my mom, Mr. Hinkson, you let the boy go and play music for money? Some of these people just come to my house and say that to my mom. I think I don't want to say I dislike them, but I resented them coming to my home.
Yeah.
Because they didn't see my vision that I had for myself. And I knew my mother saw my talent, because my mother herself played the guitar. She taught me. And after a while, I think she began to realize, listen, if my son has a talent, then I need to help him to develop it. And so she started to encourage me, you know. And then after I formed the band, things started to happen. We began to tour. I got booked to go overseas to play. I did my first tour. I was 14. I was in Barbados performing at 14. I went to St. Vincent. I went to America to perform. I was 16. And I performed at the Rockefeller Center, you know, at 16 years old. So that says an awful lot. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then I started to write a lot of my own songs. But when I was at school, Pussy Sledge came to Saint Lucian to perform, and we backed him up.
So hold on, I just want to hop in here. When you say write your own songs, right? You mean writing the music for it? So
I tried to compose my own stuff from early.
Okay.
As something said to me that, listen, man, if you're gonna make it in this thing, you can't just keep playing people's stuff and figure you're gonna get anywhere.
Yeah.
So I started to write my songs early. And then while I was still at school, we did a show with Pussy Sledge, and Pussy Sledge had this big hit, My Special Prey. He was huge. And this guy talked to my mom about taking me away to America. My mom said, no, you got to go to school. So I got stuck in school, you know. And so that didn't work out. And then I went to America to perform, and we were doing this gig in Manhattan. And we were on one floor performing, and on the other floor was a group from Trinidad. And the guys came to me and said, man, we're forming this new band, we want a guitar player. And are you interested? And I said, no, well, no, this is my band. If I leave it, that's it.
Yeah.
And they got a guitarist from Antigua. And that band was Osibisa. That became hugely successful. Hugely successful. Jeez. This is not a story I've told many people, but I think the guy who spoke to me was from Trinidad. He played keyboards. And the guitarist was, I think it was Richardson from Antigua who ended up playing Osibisa. And they became a huge hit. As a matter of fact, we covered some of Osibisa's songs, you know, like Coffee in Brazil and so on, you know.
Yeah.
But so let me backtrack a bit, man. So my mom was the person who kept me in check, man, kept me disciplined. And after I left school, my mom said to me, listen, I want to just go be a professional musician. My mom said to me, listen, man, nobody in Saint Lucian has done that before and succeeded. So my advice to you is go find yourself an 8-to-4 job, because you need to develop some work ethics. You have to understand what it is to go to work at 8 o'clock and you leave at 12 o'clock, you go to lunch and you come back at 1 o'clock and you work until 4 o'clock, and you need to develop that discipline, and then you go apply it in your music.
Yeah.
Or you're going to fail. And
That's
I thought about it for a while. It made a lot of sense to me because my mom had a lot of wisdom, you know.
Yeah. Mother's wisdom, right? Mom knows it.
Yeah. I never grew up with my dad, you know. I have no recollection of my dad in the house. So everything is my mom.
Okay.
My mom was my mother and my father. And so I went to work with government, man. I went to work at the income tax department. And I worked there for a little while, and then I worked at the treasury for a while. I was transferred to the treasury, and I was a very conscientious worker. I'd go to work when nobody worked on a Saturday. I'd go to work on Saturday to get what I want done, because I'm a very self-motivated person. And nobody has to tell me to get out of my bed at 4 o'clock in the morning because I need to practice something. I just get up and do it. Nobody has to wake me up. Nobody has to tell me to do it. I'll just do it because I need to do it for me. That's how I appear. Yeah. So I did that for a while, and I have to confess that I wrote a lot of songs while I worked in government. All the hits that I got early, I wrote them while working in government, you know. And then one day I just said to these people, listen, I think this is it for me. Today I'm leaving this job and I'm going to play my music. And
so was your mom right? Do you think that experience really did help you be conscientious in your music and disciplined?
Absolutely, absolutely. Everything that I am, anything I've succeeded at in life is because of my mom. The direction that my mom gave me, and my mom was a tough cookie, man. You know, she had a handle on me, you know. But so at the treasury, man, I said to them at the time, listen, I'm leaving this job today. I'm going to play my music. And sometimes I could get very funny, and they used to laugh, you know. And I said, boo, I hope you know you have to give the people a month's notice. I said, there will be no month's notice, man. This is it. Today is the day. I've given this thing enough thought. I'm leaving this job, and I'm going to play my music. And I started to pack up my desk. It never even occurred to me that I had to send in a resignation. I didn't even do that. I just left the job. I never went back. And I've never turned back since, man. Never turned back. This is all I've been doing from then. And then shortly after that, man, I started to record. I think I did my first recording in Barbados, and then went up to start to record in Jamaica because at the time I was writing a lot of reggae stuff, and I wanted that Jamaican sound. So I flew my whole band to Jamaica, and we used Byron Lee Studio. But we did some other recordings with some of Jamaican artists who have come to the studio and heard us. and booked us to play on some of the stuff. And that stuff was done tough going. Bob Marley Studio was brand new at the time. And so the stuff I started to record, I got some hits like Burning Eyes and Hungry Bellies. And I got Song of Love and Show the World. And then my music began to penetrate in America because I used to record with West Indies Records Limited in Barbados. And they had an ongoing agreement with Warner Brothers and subsequent to that CBS Records.
So a sort of a distribution is a sort of a distribution agreement, okay.
Yeah. So West Indies Records in Barbados used to handle a lot of the Caribbean artists, you know. And so these guys had an agreement there, and so my music got into America. And I got a call one time that the next Super Bowl coming up would have been, they wanted to do a Caribbean halftime show. And at the time, I had begun to get into the American market, you know, because my music was on Warner Brothers label, and I was on CBS and so on. And they contacted the authorities here in Saint Lucia and said they wanted to do this halftime show for the Super Bowl, and they were looking for some Caribbean acts. And I got booked. And that's how I got to play Super Bowl halftime show.
So I'm laughing because I had no idea that you played for the Super Bowl. No idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how we got to be part of the Super Bowl halftime show. That was Super Bowl 13.
Okay.
That was that halftime show with True Tones. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question though. You said that you were touring at a very young age. I mean, we're talking like 14 years old, going to different countries, experiencing different cultures. How did you have any sort of performance anxiety, or were you able to feed off of your band? How did you handle that very early exposure?
I still have performance anxiety, you know. I still have it, man. If I'm going to do a big show, I still get nervous, man. You know, it's you know. One day I said to George Benson, George, do you ever get nervous when you're on stage? He said to me, man, when you stop getting nervous, start getting worried. Because you begin to take things for granted, you know?
Right.
And that made me understand, it's all right to get nervous, man. You know? If I get on stage, man, I know there's George Benson in the audience, or there's Norman Brown. To me, it's normal for me to get nervous because these guys are so good. You know what I'm saying? And for me to go play in front of these guys, it's either I'm brave or I'm stupid, you know. And so I used to go to Martinique often to do. There used to be a guitar festival in Martinique, and I used to go do that festival all the time. And they bring the best guitar players from every corner of the world, and we congregate in Martinique for about a week or two and do these concerts. And so that's how I might meet guys like Aldi Miola and Joe Pass and Stanley Jordan. My first performance with Stanley Jordan was in Martinique, as a matter of fact. When I performed here with Stanley Jordan in St. Lucia, everybody thought that was the first time we performed together, but we had been doing that in Martinique before, you know. So that's where all my pictures have with Aldi Miola and Joe Pass and who again, I think Kenny Burrell. All these guys I met during that festival in Martinique. And we go see each other's shows. And they're my from St. Lucia, and all these big names are there, man. So I get on stage and I get nervous like hell, man. You know, it's part of the game. You know.
So but, I would ask you then, what is the thing that you use to handle that performance anxiety? Or what do you use to make sure that you're not crippled by nervousness, or you can still perform at an optimal level?
Well, I think the guys in my band understand well now. They need to leave me alone. You know? Before I go on stage on a big show, I really would prefer to be by myself. I don't want people around me. I don't want... Once I start to pace up and down slowly and just walk up and down by myself, that's when I'm beginning to get in my zone and try to do some deep breathing and try to... Because I don't smoke, I don't drink alcohol, I don't eat meat, I don't do a lot of things. And so, you know, some guys will go smoke and some guys will take a drink, but I don't do any of this. So I have to depend on my own self, just me, to get over this thing, you know. And so I like to be left alone.
Okay.
Because sometimes you want to go on stage and people come and say the wrong things to you, and you get in your frame of mind, and they can disrupt that.
Right.
And so I avoid it and just stay by myself, So maybe just go in the dressing room or just keep away from everybody, so that I can get in the zone and do what I want to do and do it well every time. Because the thing about this thing is that if you're in an 8 to 4 job and you have a bad day, you just go to work next day and just fix the paperwork. It doesn't happen so with the music thing. You get on stage and you have a bad night, man. The media can kill you.
Yeah.
And then that's your livelihood. So if you go to a particular country, you have a bad show, and the media puts out some stuff about you that's not complimentary, then that's your life going down the drain. And that is what bugs you all the time. You've got to go there and do it well every time. So it's very demanding.
Have you ever felt that way after a show? Like you finish a show and you're like, boy, tonight was a little off. We could have changed the little things up here and there. Have you ever felt that way?
Yeah, that happens often, Sometimes you get problem with the sound, and things go wrong. If problem with the sound and you're not focused well, it's a lot of things can go wrong. That happens. But often, sometimes it will happen and the audience often won't know, because you have to handle it like a professional. But when you get backstage, But my guys have a tendency to take me to task, because we'll have a playlist. We're going to do like an hour, and we have maybe 12 songs. And in the middle of the set, I might just call a song that we haven't got in the playlist, and the guy say, "Oh, boo again, boo again." But you know what? What George Benson said to me doesn't work in a playlist. Because one of the things he says is that if you work with a playlist and it's not working, then your concert is going down the drain, and you're sticking to the playlist.
Yeah.
And my band, I've been working with my guys for a while now, and they know most of my repertoire. So if we're in a particular setting, and I figure that particular playlist is not working, I just change it, because I need to get people engaged.
Yeah. So is some of that really you kind of reading the room and just seeing what the energy is like in the room?
Absolutely. But you must have been working with the musicians for a while, because if you've only rehearsed that playlist, then you stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I've been working with my musicians for a while, so I can afford to just switch something. Sometimes I just get I may be doing a lot of my own material for the night. Sometimes I play maybe one song that is not mine, something that's just to create the familiarity, to engage people, or two. And if it's not working, I may just call up a song that we know, that I know definitely that the audience all know. And that would engage them again, and I go back to play my own material again. But it's different things work in different settings, different audiences, different countries, it all depends on where you are. And sometimes you have to look at the age demographic, Sometimes before we go to a country, I would find out what music works their best, because it's always music is about communication, and you have to communicate to people. If you have an audience, you bring over their heads, because what you're doing is a little too cerebral, then you're not achieving your purpose. You're not communicating.
Absolutely. And it makes me a little curious. You said you do some research if you were to go to a particular country. How would you go about doing that research?
Oh, you can go to chart metrics. It'll tell you who is trending there, what kind of music that person is doing, tell you all the songs that are trending in that particular area. So you know what the people are gravitating to, and you look at the age demographic, you know what that age like, and so it tells me what can work. And also, when I release my material, my people in my management and everybody in Washington, and they have certain ways of knowing with whom I share the biggest fan base.
Yeah.
And if that person is doing well in that particular area, then I would do well there, and I should do this, I should do that. There are ways and means of going about it to find out what works. But sometimes when you get there, like I do my own concert here in Saint Lucian every year. It's called Show the World. And my last two concerts, I noticed I'm getting a younger, well, not young, I'm getting a more mixed demographic. Before I would get people who knew my music from early, from young, who grew up on my music. Now the concert has grown and there's a lot of curiosity about it. So now these people's kids are coming to the concert now. So, and I also use a lot of young people in my concert because I want to give them that platform, because it's a really well done concert, and it's high end. It's everything works like clockwork. It's a big show, and I like to give young people exposure on that show.
Yeah.
So I think what is happening also is that the pairs are coming to see them because the talk is beginning to go on now, to spread now. The enthusiasm about the concert is beginning to spread among younger people. So for the last 2 years, I had a very mixed demographic. So I now have to, after this COVID after the coronavirus we've gotten over it, and I start to do my concert again, I now have to strike a good balance between catering to the musical taste of that younger generation that's not coming, and my older fans.
Yeah.
So these things are things you have to pay a lot of attention to, because I have to keep trying to grow my fan base.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because I can't keep doing the same thing the same way all the time.
Right.
So whereas I like to play jazz because I like the improvisation thing, I like the democratization of music. I like the freedom it gives me. But I have to understand that it's a very niche market kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I want to keep my fan base growing. So for that reason, I incorporate younger people into what I do. Even in my band, my bass player is still in his 20s.
Yeah, I believe your bass player is Slick P. Bass
Yeah,
on Instagram.
brilliant player.
Yeah,
Keyboard player, maybe just gone 30. So these are young guys, and they bring fresh ideas to what I do.
Yeah,
and
I think your keyboard player there is Dwayne Etienne.
No, Dwayne is my engineer that tours with me.
Okay.
My keyboard player is Daniel.
Oh yeah, we know Daniel too. So both Daniel and Slick P are featured Lucian musicians on the Lucian Musicians platform. So we definitely want to shout out to them. I also want to shout out to Manasseh.
Manasseh. A good singer, man. Yeah, this guy, Saint Lucian has a lot of great young musicians, man. Great singers, great instrumentalists. There's Dwight, who's a great guitar player. There's Zach. Man, Saint Lucian has a lot of great musicians, Yeah,
man.
Daniel and Nikki, these guys are awesome, man. Awesome musicians.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for me to bring more awareness and really bring some of these musicians to the fore. I actually didn't know about a lot of these musicians up until this past year of doing Lucian musicians and featuring musicians.
This guy Daniel's been working with me since he was like maybe 18.
Okay.
So Daniel's been good from young. But Nikki is also an awesome bass player. Every time we go, we were in Taiwan. We spent 2 weeks performing in Taiwan last year. And I mean, people just amazed at these guys, man. Everybody says to me, where you get a little bass player from? And we go to wherever we go, same thing about these guys. Everybody's amazed. Trinidad, we go to do the Tobago jazz. And sometimes we go to Trinidad itself. Just after Taiwan, we were in Tortola. And everywhere we go we went to South America, and people say to me, where you got these little boys? These are kids. Where you got these kids from, man? I say, just listen to them play, man. Forget about the age. Just listen to what they play. That's how good these guys are, So the music in Saint Lucia is in great hands, man,
Yeah, man. And, as I've been listening to your story and you've been kind of chatting out the journey that you've been on, it's very amazing to me because I never hear you say anything about, you know, it was very difficult to do this. It was almost impossible to do this in St. Lucia. I didn't have anything to do this, but in fact, you're really just chatting out the journey in a place where most people would have told you that this was impossible to do. And yet you did it. And so it really makes me wonder, what is it about your journey that made this possible? Was it more of just not focusing on what you didn't have and more so what you did? What are we missing?
Well, as well, you also have to know that I did it at a time when the opportunities were less than they are now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, that's what happened, man. I think one of the things that I started to write my own songs very early. I started to record very early. I knew this is what I had to do to give me some presence.
Okay.
The other thing I decided from very early that I am going to compete in the world. I forgot about Saint Lucia and compete in the world.
Absolutely.
So it was always my intention to get my music out there. And once the outside world accepted it, then I knew I'd get acceptance in Saint Lucia. Because there's only 160,000. When I played Superbowl, there's almost the whole population of Saint Lucia in one place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I knew that to excel in the midst of 160 people, that shouldn't be very difficult to do.
All right.
But to achieve any notoriety in that big wide world of 7 billion people out there, that is where it's tough. And so I just decided I'm going to stick to this thing, do everything I have to do to succeed.
Yeah.
But what I knew from early is that it takes more than being a good musician to succeed. It requires focus and discipline and commitment. And I have all of these things. I'm very focused in what I want to do. I don't need anybody to motivate me. I'm very self-motivated. And it is my future. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I have to take responsibility for my future. So I'm going to do this. And what I learned along the way is whatever you want to do, just keep chipping at it every day, and you watch the world give you room to succeed. And this has been the story of my life, you know. Also,
you're dropping some gems today.
Also, one of the things that happened to me was I used to know this. I had this friend who did One Life to Live. It's a soap opera, okay. And she did Dorian in All My Children and Erica in One Life to Live, all these things. And she used to go out with a guy from MCA Universal, and then he set me up to get some of my music on the soap opera because she was the star on the thing, you know. And so that also helped me. And then I had this friend who worked with CBS Records. He also passed. His name was Finbar Felician. He was actually Saint Lucian. And he hooked me up to get signed to CBS Records.
Oh, wow. So
a lot of stuff happened for me early also. You know, some of what happened to me was probably luck. But if you don't have the material, the quality material, then it's not going to happen. The opportunity may come, but if you don't have quality material, then nobody will worry you. Right. You know, and so, like I said, I just decided I'm going to compete with the world. I don't care about the size of the country I come from. I don't care that I don't care about any obstacles. I'm just going to compete with the world, and this is what I've been doing all my life, you know. So
and winning.
So over these
I want to add winning.
Yeah. So over the years, I've played with George Benson, I've played with Earl Klug, I've played with Al Jarreau, I ran a stage with who again? Norman Brown, even Steven Seagal. I ran a stage with, and then I've been writing for Tracy Hamlin. Tracy got nominated for a Grammy some years ago, and I wrote the song for Matching in Love. And then, man, I performed with so many people, man, and a lot of great Caribbean musicians too. In particular, well, let me start with Saint Lucian musician. Luther Francois, who's a brilliant musician. They don't come better than Luther. Who again? Emerson Nurse, Clarence. These are all great Saint Lucian musicians, man. And I stand on the shoulders of people like Toto from the Police Band and all these guys who and Carlos Mins and Augustus and Andrew at Big Six, who used to take me to play as a little boy to replace Pele when Pele used to go to Puerto Rico. I said, little boy, just ask my mother to allow me to go and play the guitar for them because these guys are older than me. You know, my mother was a little protective sometimes. You know? Yeah. So I stand on the shoulders of all these guys who opened the doors for me, and I'm grateful to these guys, man. You know, and so because of these guys, all these older musicians from Saint Lucia that I've mentioned, I have now a commitment to do a similar thing for the younger musicians in Saint Lucia, man, you know. But I've been fortunate in that I started to travel early, and I got exposed to a lot of great musicians very early, and I saw what is to be done. But I must tell you also that the advent of the Jazz Festival helped a lot.
Okay, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the Jazz Festival exposed Saint Lucian musicians to the best musicians in the world for 25 years. We saw the best musicians in the world. We heard the best singers, the best instrumentalists. We saw the highest level of production. And if you see that for 25 years and you don't benefit from it, something is wrong with you.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is in your backyard. That was brought to your doorstep. And if you don't benefit from that, then something has to be wrong with you. And so I saw all these concerts and I performed almost every year. And I knew what was required to do it at the level that the best who were brought into Saint Lucia were doing it. I knew what was to be done. You know what I'm saying? And I knew a lot of the secrets. I learned a lot of the secrets. I learned why is it necessary to have your own sound engineer. Even if you heard a guy do a sound for any one of these artists and he did a great job with the sound, that doesn't mean that you can trust him to do your sound. Because if you open for the person that he's doing sound for, he's not going to make your song as good. You just suddenly find that when that person he's doing the sound for gets on stage, the sound is much bigger than yours. But that's what he's getting paid to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There are a lot of tricks in the trade that you have to learn, you know? And I learned a lot of them during Jazz Festival.
Okay.
And it's the Jazz Festival that gave me a lot of opportunities to perform with a lot of names, the bigger names that I perform with. Jazz Festival gave me access to George Benson. Probably would not have met George Benson had it not been for the Jazz Festival, you know. And also, the Jazz Festival brought BET to St. Lucia. And I remember I had a song called King of My Jungle and I did a video in New York. And after that was released, that was on BET like 5 times a day. And then I did BET had a series called Jazz in the Sun. And they booked my band to do an hour special on that. And that was on BET all the time. And what it did for me was that it gave me a greater stature in the music business because now I'm on mainstream American television.
Yeah. And this is actually my first time hearing about the Jazz Festival being an internal benefit to St. Lucia, aside from economic, tourism and stuff like that, but also actually being sort of a training environment for St. Lucian-based musicians.
Absolutely. I don't know if everybody internalized it the way I did, but I learned an awful lot from it, you know. So that gave me a lot of opportunities on BET. And then, so you would see one of the biggest names in the world on BET, and right after that, you see Ronald Hinkson from St. Lucia. So that gave me a different kind of stature now. And I started to get booked in America all the time. As a matter of fact, I would be performing at one of the hotels in St. Lucia. And tourists would come talk to me and say, "Oh, I know your music back." And when I started to talk to them, they'd be shocked to hear my accent because they thought I was American. Because they knew me from American television.
Yeah.
And now they see me in Saint Lucian, they come talk to me and they hear my accent. "Oh, you're Saint Lucian?" I said, "Yeah, where you thought I was from?" "I thought you're American because I only know your music in America." You know, so sometimes you create a nice laugh, you know. But it's great that the jazz festival happened and it managed to help a lot of the musicians there to evolve into what we have become. And I'm hoping that a lot of the musicians here benefited from it the way I did, you know. I made it a point to pay attention. And I made it a point to dialogue with the musicians who came and were far better than I am, and to learn from them, you know. So that helped me tremendously, man, you know. And so since over these years, I've done Boston, Washington, Philadelphia, Connecticut, New York. I did the Lincoln Center many times. Lincoln Center is a very, how do I describe? That's a venue, basically like the who's who performs at the Lincoln Center in New York. And I've done it about 3 times, you know. I did it with Hugh Masakila. I did it with the City La Loca. I've done it with, there's another show we did with Arturo Tapin, H.N. Charles from Trinidad, and who again? The band is always made up of musicians from all over the world.
Okay.
And it was really a great band, man. I remember one time we did one of the shows with Bakiti Kumalo. Bakiti is the guy who played bass with Paul Simon and Graceland.
Okay.
With Lady Smith, Black Mombasa and so on. And just being in that kind of company, it makes you play better. You know what I'm saying? It just makes you play better. And then I remember the first time I did Lincoln Center, I was standing on the stage before showtime. And I looked around, I looked at that venue, I said, "My God, can you imagine? This is Boo Hinkson in the Lincoln Center in New York, man." You know? And I remember one night, after the concert, we were backstage. And the security came to me and said, "Excuse me, there's a lady outside who says she wants to come talk to you." So I told him to go find out her name. And he came and he told me, she says her name is Melissa Rambali. And that was our ambassador to the UN. And she was at the concert. I didn't know that, man, you know.
Yeah.
And she came back and to me, "Boo, I was so proud." I brought a tear to my eye, you know. And you know, when you can get to that level and represent your country, it just makes you feel a certain sense of achievement. But it's also important that you remain grounded and not allow this to go to your head, you know. Like we did Taiwan in October last year. And shortly after that, we were in Tortola. So we're sitting in the hotel in the following morning having breakfast, and I'm saying to the guys, boy, just imagine tonight in Tortola, we're going to be doing maybe 1,500 people. Because Tortola is small, you know?
Yeah. And
we're doing music for a kind of a niche market too. So I'm expecting maybe 1,500. So I was saying to the guys at breakfast in the hotel in the morning, just imagine we're going to be doing just about 1,500 tonight, as opposed to the 27,000 we did in Taiwan. And the guy said to me, "Boy, you're crazy. The official number for the Taiwanese government was 50,000.
Jeez.
That was in the park when we did our last concert in Taichung.
So let me ask you a quick question though. How do you stay grounded? Because you mentioned that it is important that after achieving a certain level of success for you to stay grounded. What are some things that you do to make sure that you stay on an even plane in that way?
Well, for me, I think God has given me this gift not to show off, not to be stupid about it, not to become arrogant with it. It's a gift that God has given me. Give it to me free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All I have to do is appreciate it and do the best with it. And don't do nonsense with it. Don't get arrogant, and always be prepared to pass on everything that I've learned, because he can easily take it from me. It's not mine. You know what I'm saying? That gift, I don't take it for granted. You know, it's that's God's thing that He gave me, and He gave it to me to
So it sounds to me like it's really your perspective, and you maintain a certain perspective, and that's what keeps you grounded, yeah?
Absolutely. And my mother always said to me, Boo, if you ever take the elevator up, don't forget to send it back down. Because the people you meet on your way up, you meet them on your way down. I've never forgotten that, you know?
Yeah.
So you know, I'm not into religion, but I just do know that there's a superior being, and I pray twice a day. And every time I pray, I ask God to help me to be a better person than I was yesterday. And I help Him to show me the people that I must help with the gift that He has given me.
Yeah. Because earlier when you mentioned that you didn't drink or consume any drugs or anything to just even you out, I wanted to ask, is this because of a religious conviction or something?
No, it's just, I'm not into the religion thing, you know.
Okay.
I don't, I just know there's a God that I deal with.
Yeah.
And I don't fool around with Him. I don't, you know, I take him seriously, you know.
Yeah.
Because He's in charge, you know. He determines if I wake up in the morning, if I don't, you know, He determines if I succeed, if I don't. He determines everything about my life. So I deal with Him very seriously. I deal with Him twice a day. And I think what keeps me grounded also is that I have meetings with myself, you know. I have meetings with myself pretty often, and
How does that work?
How? I just take a deep look at myself all the time. I always do that. I have meetings with my own self, and I look into me.
Yeah.
And I find what I need to work on. I don't need anybody to tell me what I have to work on. I know me. I know me better than anybody else, you know. So I work on me. I have my meetings with myself, and I work on myself. And I every time I pray, I ask God to help me to be a better person than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
And I pray to my God, whoever it is. I cannot. Nobody can prove to me exactly who God is, you know. So I deal with my God, whoever my God is. I don't know. It might be the same God that you have.
I think the most important part is you don't play with Him, right? You don't take
I don't fool around with Him.
That's my favorite part.
I take Him very seriously, man. You know, I don't. That's not something to mess with, man. You know.
Yeah.
And so, but to go back to, I was telling you, I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. I don't eat meat. I don't eat canned foods. I don't eat sugar. I don't drink soft drinks. I don't drink water from plastic bottles. I take care of me.
Yeah. And
because it is my responsibility to do that, you know. And also I try to let me see how I put this. I do not see myself as anything better than anybody. I don't care who it is. I do not care who it is. I do not ever put myself on a pedestal. I don't do that. So if I walk through town and everybody knows me, you know. So I pass through town and even the guys who fall through the cracks, who live on the streets, they know my name. And they stop me and I address them as sir all the time. I always address them as sir. So I was walking with a friend of mine one day. He works with insurance, and one of these vehicles stopped me. I wanted some money, and I was addressing him as sir. So when we left, when we walked away, my friend said to me, "Boo, why you calling the guy sir?" I said, "Because it keeps me in check. It's this respect for him. The respect I give him keeps me in check about myself."
Yeah.
Because it's a very easy for God to equalize us, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So um I don't um I don't see anybody as anything lesser than I am. It's just the circumstance.
Right.
The
Circumstances are
circumstance,
different.
the ethos creates different circumstances, and
Yeah,
it makes your life unfold in a particular way. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But 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 the person who's fallen for the cracks that I may be talking to on the street there, if he had the opportunities that I had, he might have been better than me.
absolutely.
And the fact that he did not have it may not have been his making. So so for that, I just deal with everybody on an equal um, footing. I will not look down at anybody. I just don't do it.
I'm
But this is not
completely
to
on
say
board
that.
with that.
But this is not to say that I allow people to do what they want with me. I'm a very um, assertive person. You know? I
You have to be.
yeah, and I don't let people disrespect my blackness either. I don't let people. I take my blackness very seriously, and I don't want anybody to have any preconceived ideas about me because I'm black. I
So
don't
you
tolerate.
mentioned that you were touring from a young age, and I assume at that time there was a different approach, or there was just more racism. Period. Did you experience that in your career as you were touring or going to different countries, European
I
countries?
can't say I've experienced it um, on tour, but I understand how very insidious it is in Saint Lucia. I'm very aware of it in Saint Lucia, and so I exercise a zero tolerance with it, because if I am to be um, I do not expect, or rather I will not tolerate somebody coming into my country and exercising any racism towards me in my country. I don't care how insidious it is, but I'll stop you.
Yeah, and that's something we could really dive into because with St. Lucia being an economy that is mainly supported by tourism, I think a lot of people working in the tourism industry experience some level of racism, especially serving people that come from countries that have different worldviews and have some level of superiority coming to our island. Yeah.
Well, absolutely, it is. It is. We need the tourism industry. You understand? We cannot do without it.
Yeah.
But there's a certain amount of negative social engineering that happens to our people in the industry that we must be aware of. And I don't know if it's that our people are not aware of it or they choose to ignore it. You know, but I think as a country, it is not enough to just build schools and have a proper education system, proper financial system, proper legal system, justice system, health system. But it's important to pay attention to the psyche of your people, you know, because that to a great extent determines where your people are going, you know.
Right.
You know, you must pay
Yeah.
attention to the psyche of your people, and you must determine what determines how they think of themselves. And so we have to be watchful of things like the industry that where there's a lot of social engineering going on, but it is very insidious.
Yeah. I think a lot of what's happened with the Caribbean mindset when it comes to racism is, the remnants of slavery, as everybody knows. I can give you one experience. That's funny. We're already over time, but this episode was so informational. You told us so many gems that I'm more than happy to go well over time. But so I was playing in church one day. I'm a bassist. And I'm playing bass. It's just a regular church service. And there are two white people that came into the church, right? Uh, and as soon as they walked in, As soon as they walked in, the entire energy in the congregation shifted. And I'm telling you, people were singing more, people were clapping. The whole vibe in the entire service
Why do you
just
think that
completely
happened?
changed.
Why
I
do you
believe
think that?
I think that happened because there's a level of novelty that our society has towards white people, just foreigners in general, I believe, where there's almost like an instinctive, oh, let's show you how great we are, or let's show you how nice we are, or let me impress you. I need to impress you and show you how good I am. Right?
So,
That's how I see
what
it.
have I told you? What have I told you? That is a residual effect of slavery.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, okay.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Let me tell you what, man. I've been reading a lot on what we call, I've been reading a lot on genetics and epigenetics.
Okay.
And epigenetics is the process by which your genetic information is modified at a molecular level without affecting your DNA sequence. Now, it might be a little complex,
No,
but
I'm familiar with that. Yep, that's how you get
okay, well, great.
generational trauma through your
I
very DNA.
absolutely. So what happens is that there's transgenerational impact, like parental imprint. And so this whole thing you talked about there, that has happened at deep down inside, you know, that you feel that need to do it better because the white folks have appeared. And we must always be cognizant of that thing happening to us, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, man. So I said to my friends when they talked to me about the whole George Floyd thing and the racism and so on, and I said to them, I talked to them about the epigenetics and what has happened to us and why we have that transgenerational impact and residual effect of what has happened to us. Because I have a cousin who went to Vietnam, right? And the impact of Vietnam, he never recovered from it. He died, he never recovered.
So when you say Vietnam, you mean the war, right?
War, yeah.
Yeah.
The psychological impact the war had on him, he never recovered. Just imagine you traumatize Black people for 400 years. Look at the time he spent in Vietnam. You understand?
Yeah.
And look at the time we've been traumatized, 400 years.
Across multiple generations, yep.
Absolutely. You understand? So there's that residual effect. That happens to us at a genetic level.
Yeah.
And we pass that on. And so I believe it is difficult for racism to end without some profound intervention in the lives of white people who push the racism thing.
Yeah.
Because they need to atone. And unless there's some profound intervention, it's not going to go away because they can't help it, you know, because they have been doing it for 400 years. You with me on that?
Yeah, well, for me, I see a little bit more nuance especially on them not being able to help it, because I think as bad as the George Floyd protest and all that stuff was, I think it's actually a symptom of a society that is becoming more and more allergic to racism. It's a symptom of a Black population that is becoming less and less tolerant. And
you're right, because here's what I said earlier on is that unless there is some profound intervention,
yeah,
it cannot end.
right.
So all the white folks who march with us, something happened to have triggered that.
Exactly.
And that is the profound intervention I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So the more of that intervention we have, the more we will see white people beginning to march with us. And the more profound intervention we have, the more you will see black people getting over that desire that prompts the reaction you spoke about in the church.
Yeah.
Because you should have been playing your music and just playing with all the enthusiasm.
Whether they were there or not, right?
Whether they were there or not.
Yeah.
You understand? So, you know, I said to you, I always have meetings with myself. So if I were doing that and that happened to me, I'd quickly check myself, put myself in check.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I want to be clear. I was still playing the same way, right? I didn't change the way I was playing. But I'm saying the energy in the room shifted, and I noticed that the congregation and the people in the room were much more engaged.
Right.
You know?
I always say to people that I have reached a level of emancipatory thought. I'm at a point in my life where I've reached a level of emancipatory thoughts. It's kind of a self-actualization. And the reason why you continue playing the same way you were playing is because you have acquired that too.
Yeah.
You didn't see it necessary to do anything more because some white folks walked in.
And I think also part of it too is because at that point I had already began my studies abroad. So I was used to seeing white people every day. And it was baffling to me. I really don't know why that happened. As much as I tried to explain it.
We just talk about the epigenetics that you know about, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's the whole epigenetic thing.
I never forgot that day, man.
That is where it's coming from, you know. And you have to be very, very aware. You have to be. We cannot continue to be. We cannot continue to overlook it, and we must nip it in the bud every time we see it. But there needs to be some atonement on these people's part, because the system is designed to accommodate them. The system is designed for them to succeed, for them to advance in life. It is not designed to accommodate us like it is designed to accommodate them. So they have that sense of entitlement because that's how the system has been. That's why there's redlining. That is why it is stacked against us in housing, in education, in healthcare, in the justice system. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it is stacked in their favor, and they know that. So if that has been your ethos, you can't help being what you are.
Yeah.
So unless there's some profound intervention that changes that, how are they going to change?
Yeah, I think right there, it's so easy because you mentioned, you basically just defined white privilege. I think it's so easy to just accept the privilege because you can easily sit down and say, you know, I didn't do it. I didn't set myself up to be privileged. So why can't I just enjoy it?
So you just take it. Or you're just as guilty.
I can see the temptation there. Just being honest, that's a very tempting situation to be in.
Exactly. This is why I keep saying that some of them are racist. They don't even know. They don't even know they are because it is just, that is their norm. You know, I used to do a project in the ghetto. Let me take that back. I have to apologize for that. I don't like that word ghetto. You know? I used to do a project with some marginalized area.
Okay.
And I would go there and talk to the young kids there about drugs and things, you know. And what I realized is that I was asking them to be deviant in their environment. Because if you come from an environment where you see your father doing, your uncle is doing it, your elder brother is doing it, your sister is doing it, and I come from outside and come and tell you, don't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm asking you to be deviant in your environment. And so it's a similar thing to what has happened with the whole racism thing, you know. If you grow up in an environment where everything is put there in your favor, you know, you have enough money to buy a house in Cap, and I'm black, and I have money to buy a house in Cap, but I can't go there because I'm black. And you find reasons why you make it difficult for me. I'm just using Cap as an example, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But you find reasons why I shouldn't live there. If every generation of your people grow up like that, but you think you think you're the only one qualified to live there, that is pretty normal. But I think what is equalizing us now also is that I think people are beginning to wake up to realizing that, hey, there is something else going on here. What is happening is that there's a handful of people in the world, what people refer to as the 1%ers, who are acquiring everything. And the vast majority are being left with nothing. And that includes a lot of white people now. And that is part of the profound intervention that they're beginning to rise up to.
Yeah.
So we're going to be seeing more and more white people and black people getting together for the purpose of their own survival, because they're both facing a kind of a precarious kind of life now that is not working.
Yeah. There's an argument out there that racism is always used as a distraction from wealth inequality. And that's a very popular argument.
Absolutely. So the people who have acquired everything in the world, or almost everything, they talk a lot about, they'll talk about poverty, but they don't want to talk about inequality. They avoid a conversation about inequality. And I'll tell you what is happening in the world now is the 1%ers who used to, what has happened generally is that our lives have been outsourced to big business. So you vote, and your vote has a very diminished value. You really think your vote has value, but the value is very diminished, because here's what happened. You vote, but it is the money of the rich people who puts the politician there.
Yep,
because
the lobbyists.
He needs their money for his campaign.
Yep.
And then you voting, right?
Especially in the United States, right?
Absolutely. So you're voting. So after he's gotten in power now, he has to weigh between providing your needs and that of the person who finances him. These needs may be very different.
Yeah.
In fact, they're always different.
I think that's actually the norm more than it is the exception. I think that's happening
Absolutely.
all around the world much more as the norm than the exception.
So what we'll see happening more frequently is, rather than this guy give the politician his money, the politician goes on campaigns and he wins, and then he has to get what he wants from the politician. He will go himself now. He will become the politician himself, because he has the money to do his campaign himself.
Right.
So what you're going to have to see, what we will see happening more and more in the world, is that the people with the economic power will now acquire the political power. And then the world is going to be in trouble. You and I are going to be in big trouble. That is where it's headed. Because they've gotten hip to the fact, listen, I don't have to give anybody my money. I can just go and campaign. With my money, I have the money to win. I can buy out everything and I can win. So now I have the economic power already, and then I can acquire the political power. What better do we want?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, hopefully we find some way to adjust the system, take the measures that we need to ensure that the system works for everybody. But it's something that we've been trying for centuries. I think we're closer. Here's the thing. I think we're actually now in this moment a lot closer than we used to be. And when I say that, I'm referring to the times where you had the monarchies and the feudal system, and you had all these terrible arrangements that came before, even the some of the socialistic experiments that, in my view, use socialism in an inappropriate way. I'm kind of fuzzy on. I think the best approach is a balance between capitalism and socialism, taking the best of both worlds, to form a system of governing that's best for everyone. As to exactly what that looks like, I'm not a
You know.
political science major.
Well, I'm also very watchful of the new liberalists, man, because these guys are talking about the self-sufficient self, where everybody is responsible for their own well-being, and they disconnect from the collective, and they lobby governments to cut down on taxes, and lobby government to cut down on social services because their taxes have to pay for the social services. So these people, we have to watch them, man. We have to be very watchful of these people. And then what is even more dangerous is that when you take the power and you give it to these people who already, you give the political power to the people who already have the economic power. The status quo that has permitted them to acquire everything, they never change it,
Of course not.
You understand?
Yeah.
So it's just a whole facade. It's just a lot of talk, but they have no intentions of changing anything because that is what got them to where they are.
Right.
And now they've gotten the political power. So you and I are in big trouble, man.
And I just want to point out to the listeners, I know we're going into some heavy political talk, but hey,
No, it's not
the green room.
It is the future of the world.
Yeah, I just want to point out that there is no.
Happy that we went there. Let me tell you, I'm happy that we went there, man, because people have a tendency to talk to me about music alone,
Oh yeah. And this is a good time to make it clear to folks: the green room is not just about music. We're talking to musicians, but we're talking about everything. So
we do. Tell you what, you and I as musicians have a voice too,
Exactly.
Not voice to be heard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we have a following, and we can talk to our following.
Yeah, and I absolutely want to use this platform to advance the cause of justice and advance the cause of truth.
Absolutely.
But what I want to point out is that there is no one who has ever acquired power that freely let it go, or freely divested or divested, freely let go some of that power. So once people acquire power, they tend to hold on to it with an iron fist.
For dear life, man. For dear life. Sometimes they start off very well intentioned, and somewhere along the way, the beast takes over, man. And yeah, the beast takes over, man, and they become a different person altogether, man. But let me tell you what, man. You must get a book called Winners Take All.
Winners Take. Who wrote that?
Anand Giridharadas. Once you go, just Google it. Winners Take All. You must get that book and read it. And it speaks to a lot of what we've just discussed there.
All right, I'll check it out. I'll see what it's all
Check it out, man. But I'm happy the conversation went in this direction because, like I said, I heard one anchor on Fox television say to LeBron James, just shut up and play your ball. Just shut up and dribble.
Shut up and dribble. That's what it was, yeah.
Shut up and dribble. You understand? Because that is the white privilege that makes her think she's in a position to talk on Fox, even if she's talking out of garbage. Yeah. But LeBron, because he's a basketball player, mustn't talk, and because he's black. Yeah. And this is the things we must be very aware of. We must not overlook that kind of mindset, that kind of thinking, that kind of preconceived ideas about us. And this is why I talk about all the social engineering that is going on in the world, and the way we are forced to believe certain things about ourselves and how we are portrayed. We need to get our own media. We need to get our revamp the education system for our own purpose, get our own banks, we just need to wake up.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the emphasis, I think the way out of the worst situations always seems to be education. I think.
But here's what we have to determine for whose purpose we've been educated in.
No. When I say education, I mean the right education.
Education system, because. So, for instance, we have an education system here, but I think it is very dangerous for our history not to be compulsory. So that education system is failing us to a certain extent. Absolutely. And we have to understand the difference between education. We have to how do I put this? There's a difference between educating people for them to remember things, you understand? And educating them
so they can pass tests.
To pass tests and so on.
No, I just want to hop in on something here, right? So
to be able to think.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Being educated to remember things and pass a test is a very different thing to being educated to being able to think analytically. Right. These are very two different things.
Yeah. And I just want to point out two things, right? It's baffling to me that the history of Haiti is not taught more extensively in the Caribbean. I didn't learn about the Haitian Revolution, or I don't remember that being in any textbook or anything while I grew up in Saint Lucia. And I only learned about the Haitian Revolution when I was in college. Right? And
I can tell you what's in that Bible. I couldn't see it in the program. We'd have to meet one-on-one. Let me tell you something.
Okay. All right.
I'm not surprised. And this is why I'm talking about the education system failures. It is a very dangerous thing for our people, particularly us Black people, not to know our history and the history of the people who exploited, subjugated us, enslaved us, and committed crimes against humanity. The people who committed genocide against us. It is very dangerous for us to not know our history and to know their history. Because you know what's going to happen to us? We're going to trust them again.
Yeah, and you open yourself up to... Yeah.
Any people who walk away from history will walk into it again.
Yeah.
It is very dangerous. And so we need to find out, why is it our history is on the back burner in our education system? Who made that decision? Why was that decision made?
Yeah.
And what makes anybody think it's all right for us to have generation after generation of our young people not grow up knowing our history? That is dangerous to us.
Yeah. Listen, so this has been an awesome and amazing talk. And I can't even begin to dig into all the stuff that we covered. But I always like to do this at the end of the green room. I want to open up the floor to you. And let's imagine that you had every Caribbean musician just in an open auditorium right in front of you. What would you say to the region's musicians?
Oh, wow. Get together for our own good, man.
Okay.
Let's get together for our own good. It is in our interest to get together. And the benefits will be way beyond music.
All right. We'll take that and we'll run with it. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah. Well, thanks for talking to me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us on the Green Room today. This has been an awesome and amazing conversation. There were a lot of gems, a lot of inspiring.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, it was an inspiring story, and we're looking forward to maybe one day soon we can have you on here again. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So
thanks for talking to me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Boo's information will be posted along with this episode. Be sure to follow him and check out his amazing discography. I'm so excited for all the future conversations we'll be having together. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, like on Facebook. All of those links can be accessed from the website www.lucianmusicians.com. You can expect an episode of The Green Room on the second Wednesday of every single month. See y'all later.